Hi everyone, welcome back to the Geterbrewed channel. So today I'm joined by Darren Duncan from Polykegs. Single-use kegs, one-way kegs, whatever the description is that you want to use, they're a necessary evil is probably a good description in the industry for export and for going to a location and it's not possible to bring a steel keg back from. So we have been looking at what options there is and working with Darren, and he's been very supportive and helpful in getting us the distribution agreement for Ireland. So we're going to look at the Polykegs and tell you why you should use Polykeg. And I suppose the key thing for us, we've been discussing this just before the camera went on, is that the keg is recyclable and that all the components can go back into making more kegs, so they are eco-friendly, even though there's going to be a lot of talk of plastic. So Darren, tell us a little bit about Polykeg.
Yes, well, it's funny Jonathan should say they're a necessary evil. Due to the massive increase of craft brewers, a lot either don't have the investment for steel kegs or don't have the room to store multiple steel kegs or cleaning facilities or return transport. So there's lots of reasons why people need one-way kegs is the best term rather than one use, because yes, everybody's a bit sensitive about one-use plastic. Polykegs are 100% recyclable and are now being recycled in the UK and made into clothing that can be used back within the industry, i.e. workwear, polo shirts, fleeces, bar mats, etc. So yeah, I'd like to make that point that they are reused, but not as kegs. Yeah. They're a great way, as Jonathan said, for a small brewer to sell their beer anywhere in the world, not just maybe the UK or Ireland, but we have lots of craft brewers now that export to Russia, Japan, wherever, Belgium, Holland, and if they brew a keg of beer and they know that kegs cost them a set price, they've nothing else to worry about. If they send a steel keg that they've purchased and it doesn't come back, they've lost any money at all that they've made on that beer. Even if they have to get it back, the time scale to get a keg back, they need more kegs to fill, to send out, to get those back. And this was very evident in COVID, that a lot of the steel keg companies, all of the kegs were in the pubs that were closed. So when all the breweries wanted to brew beer, to fill kegs, they had to fill, a lot of them had to fill one-way kegs to get to the pub beer, to then get their steel kegs back. So we have sort of benefited from small craft brewers that don't have their own steel kegs, but also big breweries that have steel kegs that have needed an alternative or a stopgap where the steel keg hasn't been suitable.
So Darren, there's two options, bagless and bag.
Yes. And
there's multiple tapping options.
Yes.
Basically any coupler.
Yes, some of the other kegs in the market don't offer a big choice, and some of them even only offer one type of coupler. Polykeg decided to offer all the valves to suit any market. Yeah. So I don't know, say for example you want to supply Russia and they only use a valve. Yeah. So you as a brewery would want to buy in Polykegs with a valve to suit that market. Yeah. Okay. If it's the UK, it's probably Sankey. Yeah. So yeah, the idea of Polykeg is we have the keg for you no matter where you're selling it to.
Okay. And the differential between having a bag and not having a bag, is that just down to how it's dispensed at the bar or restaurant or wherever it's put on tap?
There's a few reasons why, and different people will say. Originally, the bag and keg was aimed at people that didn't have access to CO2. Mm-hmm. So they would use little home dispensers like Lindar, yeah. And they're little stainless steel, small bar, restaurant, cafe. If it didn't have CO2, it produces its own air compressor. So it would squeeze the bag of beer and the beer would be as good as it was when it went into the bag. If you used air on a keg that didn't have a bag, then the air would contaminate the beer and it would oxidize. Yeah. So without the bag is the cheaper option if you've got CO2. Yeah. But if you're not sure where your beer's going or how it's going to be dispensed, go for the bag version because it doesn't matter if it's CO2 or compressed air.
Okay. One of the things I like about it is it's got a spear, or
Yes.
plastic dip tube, whatever terminology people
Yep.
want to use. So that means that you can fill this keg on the ground.
Yes, again, the company looked at others on the market, and some had to be filled upside down. And looking at how people manage to do that, it looks a real fiddly, awkward setup. And I think when the keg's full and you then try to turn 30 litres
Yeah.
of beer back over, if someone's doing a lot of kegs, it can't be good for your back.
Yeah.
So Polykeg decided to fit a dip tube, which allows you to fill from the top. The beer goes through the tube, hits the bottom, and fills around the bag to the top.
Okay, yeah.
The other advantage of that is when it gets to the pub and they go to dispense, as the air squeezes the bag, the liquid will find the bottom of the dip tube. Now, it's not on the bottom, so there's no worry of sucking up sediment or
Yeah.
any post-fermentation. It squeezes the bag, squeezes the beer, and as the bag empties and the head space comes down the tube,
Yeah.
you won't get any fobbing or frothing.
Okay.
The ones that don't have a dip tube, other types, as the bag squeezes, it forces any fobbing or frothing in that headspace
Yeah.
through the pump.
Yeah.
So we find a lot of tap rooms say, oh, they're much better, there's less wastage.
Okay, very good. In relation to the kegs, you know, they're available bagged, non-bagged, multiple couplers. Let's look at filling them. How easy are they to fill?
Several options depending on, again, the brewery setup and how much they want to invest. The cheapest but not the best way to fill a keg is a simple coupler to suit the valve.
Yeah.
Remove the inner non-return valve, which would stop the beer in a pub going back into the keg.
Yeah.
Pull the valve out of the coupler, turn your tank of beer on,
Yeah.
and let it fill to its full.
Okay.
It'll work, but it doesn't give you the best results because we think it's important to keep a counter pressure, back pressure to support the bag.
Do these come pressurized?
Yes, there's 1.5 bar when they arrive.
Okay.
By doing it that cheaper way I've told you, you're likely to let all the gas out and then your bag's hanging in the keg.
Yeah.
If you use a particular coupler that we have designed,
Okay.
it's a standard coupler, but it has a pressure gauge built in.
Yeah.
So when you connect it to the keg, this will read 1.5 bar.
So this is beer in.
This is your beer in.
Are we
This
gas in?
this is an option for CO2,
Okay.
extra gas.
Yeah.
And this is a pressure relief valve.
Okay. So that's to regulate the pressure between
Yes.
your tank and your
Yeah.
Polykeg.
So when you move from a basic coupler up to this model, this will help you fill at the right pressure, because if there's no pressure in the keg and you have a lot of pressure in your tank, when you turn the beer valve on to fill, it will fill very quickly. If it's too quick, it'll fob and froth.
Okay.
And then the bag will look full, but
it's
there'll be
not.
more fob and froth than there will beer. By setting this pressure gauge about 0.5 bar below your tank pressure,
Yeah.
it will gradually fill, avoiding froth and fob. You only need to set this once to your tank pressure and then fill as many kegs as you want. At the end, you stop your beer flow
Yeah.
and disconnect the coupler quickly, which allows the valves to snap shut.
Yeah.
And that leaves pressure around the bag and the bag sealed.
So
After that, you're into expensive keg filling equipment.
Yeah.
But depending on the brewery, we have a machine around the £6,000 mark that will do all of that automatically.
Yeah.
It'll adjust your beer pressure coming in, it'll adjust your gas pressures, and all you've got to do is press a button, but you do manually lift it on and off.
on and off. Yeah. Yeah.
After that, you're into industrial machines that will be on a keg line, which could be 10, 20, 30,000 pounds.
Some brewers like to fill at different pressures for different beer styles. What is the pressure rating on the kegs? How high can you go?
The recommended pressure is 3.5 bar, is
Okay.
sort of the industry standard working pressure. A recommended a maximum 3.5. However, we have a pressure relief valve built into the valve
Okay.
that will self-vent over 5 bar.
Right. Okay.
So if someone was to over-pressurize or overfill, it'll safely vent.
Right, so nobody gets hurt, yeah.
Yeah, so no one gets hurt. It's a safety feature. The instructions are on all the kegs on the label. The only thing, it doubles as a depressure tool when the keg's empty.
Yeah.
So when a pub uses it and it's completely empty and finished with, you can snap it off and squash the keg for recycling.
Yeah.
And also safety that it's not pressurized.
And we were covering, obviously, filling there. What's the average fill time?
It depends on a few things, really. The pressure of your ingoing beer from the tank. So obviously if your tank's only at 1 bar, 1.5 bar, it will take 2 to 3 minutes a keg.
Okay.
If you can increase the pressure via CO2 or a pump system, you could probably get it down to half that.
Okay.
You just have to be careful depending on your beer type. Is the quicker you fill and the temperature you fill at will depend how much froth you're going to get.
Yeah.
So you're
so below 4 degrees, usual sort of 1.5 to 2 bars where most people are at.
Yeah, you're talking around about 2 minutes.
Okay.
But on a fully automated system, you can get that down to about 50 seconds.
Perks of using Polykeg over what some of the competition are offering?
Really, lots of things I've just said. I think one of the main reasons why we now have hundreds of breweries in the UK that have moved from other one-way kegs is they can fill it upright, which is far easier, quicker, and from a health and safety point of view, better on people's backs.
Yeah.
The option of the valves to suit your customer, you're not tied in with your customer has to buy that coupler to suit that keg.
Yeah.
So you find out what the customer's got and you supply them that keg. Pubs, certainly in England, I'm not quite sure about North or South Ireland, but the most popular is Sankey.
Yeah.
Sankey S, not American Sankey. There's a slight difference in that.
Yeah.
And I think when people buy some online, they end up with an American Sankey that doesn't work in the UK.
Yeah.
So it's important to buy your equipment from a reputable supplier, i.e. yourself.
Ourselves, yeah. We have Sankey and Grundy has been the most popular, I think.
Yeah, the Grundy we would call a G valve, and we have a few customers particularly ask for that. Funny enough, in Ireland and Scotland, and I don't actually know if they're for use in those areas or for export.
Yeah, no, I think our local bars prefer
okay.
Grundy. Look, so Polykegs for us, we've been asked to work with you. We've spent a bit of time getting here to give people a little bit of info on the packaging and the way it arrives. So these are going to be container loaded from Italy, from the factory, arriving into Ireland here, stock north and south if you guys need it. It's 48, or is it 40?
There's 44.
44,
the most popular size is 30 litre, and there's 44 on a pallet.
Okay.
And the other popular size would be 20 litre, which is 60 per pallet.
Okay.
Yeah. One thing I forgot to mention, which is quite key, is Polykegs are also pre-purged, ready to fill.
Okay.
So when it arrives, you only have to sanitize the top, sanitize your coupler, bleed some beer through your beer line, and fill. You don't need to pre-purge it. Now that saves a bit of time and a bit of CO2, because I believe that a lot of the other kegs, you have to do that process. So it's another factor of why Polykegs easier, quicker, safer.
Is there technical support available?
100%. Yeah. The technical team for the company, we have a plant in Italy and Spain. At the moment, the UK is a sales and distribution with a factory planning within the next 18 months, hopefully. Okay. But the technical team are based in our UK office and they're accessible 7 days a week.
Okay.
Either through myself or directly to them. Yeah. And we'll always provide a distributor with those details. Yeah. But Polykeg's been established 9 years. We're very aware of any potential issues, and most of them will come down to user error or filling error, which we'll always support and help solve any of those.
I got to know Darren a little bit over the last while, and he said that the company is constantly doing new product development and constantly trying to improve and drive things forward. So for us, that's one of the key reasons why we've chosen to distribute these over anything else. we're going to have stock here in good volume. If you want a particular valve, you want a particular size, there is 24. One customer asked for 24 litres, wasn't it?
Yes, I believe Polykeg's the only one to offer 24, and I believe the reason that we do a 24 is because in Europe they won't lift over 25 kilo. Right, so the 30s are a bit hit and miss, I believe, in Europe. So we make a 24. Somebody has asked for a 24 in the UK recently, and I think they're either jumping the gun thinking the UK might move to 25 kilo max lift, or that person's selling their beer to a country that has a problem over 25. So yeah, we have a 30, a 24, a 20, a 16, and a 12. And the 12's been quite popular recently for small cafe bars that don't have much room, and home bars. A lot of people invested in.
During lockdown, we benefited from that.
So a lot of people buy little 12 litres from their local breweries and try it, and it's not too much beer. The shelf life, if you leave the coupler on a beer, the shelf life, as long as it's kept cool, is about 6 weeks, 3 to 6 weeks, depending on the temperature. So 12 litres is about 18 pints. If you're not drinking 18 pints in 3 weeks, don't have a home bar. If you have a lot of friends and family, and you have a nice home bar, then buy a 30 litre. There's only 55 pints in it. You know,
some people look at
a good party in Northern Ireland would soon empty that.
Some people look at that as a challenge over here. All I wanted to do was do an introduction to Polykeg and show our customers that we have them in stock now. Do the tips and tricks for filling. Do a little bit of info on size and availability, and hopefully we'll see these appearing in lots of bars near you soon. So,
and all of the information is on the website, polykeg.com. There is various languages, including English, obviously, to click on the tab. But also there's downloadable technical data sheets, safety sheets, filling instructions. Everything you need to know will be on the website, but at any time, contact obviously yourself. If you can't find it, contact us, Polykeg.
Look, for guys at home, this is the Polykeg branded one. You'll all know we sell these dispensing heads, stainless steel dispensing heads, and this is lovely because it's got a nice pressure release valve. It's got the pressure display. You can rig it up like Kevin does here, using John Guest fittings and John Guest tubing, and make it work on an economical, sort of budget-friendly way. So don't feel that you're tied to buying the branded couplers. There's an option there for everybody, is what I'm trying to say. Look, Darren, thanks very much for popping over.
That's a pleasure, Jonathan. Good luck, and I'm sure you'll be very happy, and so will your brewers.
Until next time, happy brewing.
Thank you.